Any questions about yesterday?
Probably. Can't remember.
Kind of getting into their head, understanding that everything they say and do is a communication. The emotions are communication. Feeling good, feeling confident, feeling successful, that's a good sign. That means they're feeling like they have a certain level of control. They have a certain confidence in their abilities. You're building up a track record of success. Very, very good. Frustration, anger, resignation, procrastination, those are all communications. And they're telling us something very, very important. It may be telling us something about the event or the task itself. It may also be telling us something about the track record. You know, it may be totally disconnected to the actual event. So sometimes it can be a little tough to sort out in the beginning. But once you've worked through some of the old stuff, little by little, you know, working out of those old instant reactions, those old conditioned responses, so that you're dealing more in the present, it should be easier to spot those, I call them fire alarms. It says, something's wrong, something's not right.
What is it that makes their emotions, or I don't know if you guys experience this, has been my experience, their emotions run so much higher than just an average person's.
Yeah.
Everything's so much more extreme. I mean, and we're happy. The whole world is happy with us because I think we're all just so relieved we're in a good mood, and life is good for all of us in the house when he's in a good mood, you know.
Yeah,
but
and where's
if he is not in a good mood, oh my God, the whole house is just in chaos because we're just focused on, okay, let's just try and get him back in a happy mood because, you know,
so right up here on the left side of our brain, there's this little thing, and they found that without this little piece of your brain, you become a homicidal maniac. Okay, you have no conscience, you have no judgment. Okay, you are a total sociopath.
Right.
Okay, right there, without that little piece. Now, what if you still have that little piece over here, but the two sides of the brain don't really talk to each other? Remember, in a stress response, in the sympathetic response, these two tend not to talk. The left side of the brain gets very quiet. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. You don't want judgment when you have to react instantly to a fight or flight situation. It's just a liability. Right. You won't survive out there in that, you know, that dangerous hunter-gatherer world. Okay? Boom, boom, boom. You don't have time to think. You got to react. So, think about it. These guys that are a little bit more highly evolved in that sense, without this connection, they tend to be more driven.
Right.
The highs tend to be higher, the lows tend to be lower. You know?
And I think that's why a lot of times these kids get diagnosed with bipolar, because they just see that side of it, they're not seeing the whole picture. And
yes.
Yeah.
Do you see the connection now?
Yeah.
The bipolar, obsessive compulsive, a lot of these behaviors now, oh wow, it makes sense. You disconnect these two halves of the brain effectively, and now you've got this lack of judgment. You've got high highs and low lows. You know, we used to say in Alcoholics Anonymous, you know, when a normal person gets a flat tire, they call AAA. Mm-hmm. When an alcoholic gets a flat tire, they call suicide prevention.
Yeah.
Something I've noticed is, well, with my son and some others, is when everything's calm, they create chaos. Because
you need the chaos.
Yes.
You need the chaos.
They don't know how to react in the calmness. They're used to.
My husband does.
That's why they're. I mean, I don't know a single ADHD kid personally that isn't drawn to Halo 3 and those active video games, most of which happen to be incredibly violent. But it's like you got to create the activity. You got to create the. Otherwise, you're just. It's like being dead.
Yes.
We
were just talking about this.
That's why we hate going to sleep. We hate going to sleep. That time between, you know, turning off the TV or the action or whatever.
Sound good?
No, that was a head. That was a.
They're laughing.
No, they're having
Okay.
Well, we gotta bring it down a notch. Or...
They're having a good time.
We were just talking about that last night. They were playing. I don't know if you guys have played the new Mario on the Wii, and you can do a team playing. Like you can work together. But I've never seen it. My friend's son was doing the same thing, so it might just be a boy thing. But they have trouble working as a team. They want to create the chaos within the group. But I'm gonna pick you up and throw you off the cliff. It's like no. If we just work as a team, we can get past this level. But no. We're just gonna cause the chaos within it, and we find that amusing and entertaining, and and my husband does that too. If we're all like being quiet around the house, he's got to stir the pot. He'll just say things, and he's playing around, but he just says things just to get reactions.
Yes.
And it's been raising my son, I think, that saved my marriage. I learned how to deal with my son, which led me to learn how to deal better with my husband, because I used to feed off it. And he loves it when we're fighting. He loves it when I'm getting all riled up and I'm getting mad, and I've learned to just shut it off, and I just look at him and I give him nothing, and then he'll stop, because this is not fun for me anymore.
Yeah, you can't fight by yourself.
Exactly. And it took a few years to learn that, and because I learned to deal with my son that way, that I transferred it over to him. But yeah, it's the same thing. And
that's how I've gotten through, I don't know, 4 pregnancies. Okay, and you know, you don't
react to it.
You don't take it personal.
Exactly.
You don't react to it.
Yep.
You know.
They're here.
Oh, cool. So yes, that's that whole thing about you can put an ADHD kid in a room by himself, and he'll make something out of the lint or the dust on the floor or the cracks in the ceiling. It doesn't matter, because we need, without an alternative, we need that. Okay, and there's lots of ways to get it. You know, rocking back in her chair.
My son,
and,
I cannot give him pens that come apart. If I give him pens that come apart, they do not even make it through one day of school, and we lose parts of it, so we can't put it back together. But we cannot not take it apart.
Yes.
And even the big, cheap, big ones, they'll be twisted up into like a knot, basically, because we can't just sit there. And,
yeah. So there's this need for stimulation. It's a need. Okay? In order to feel whole, in order to feel complete, there's a need for stimulation. So, are there ways to accomplish that, to fulfill the need, to fulfill the intention, that are not destructive, that are not interruptive, that are not causing chaos and problems with the classroom or the family? And the answer is yes. The answer is absolutely yes. There's that, and that's a lot of what we're going to talk about right in the beginning here, is how do we get some activity here?
Right.
How do we get some activity between the two hemispheres? Because this left side, this is like the moderator. This is the one this is the filter. This is that kind of like the funnel. Slow it down. It's like 30 images per second. Okay? Full bore, unstopped, unfiltered. What goes in just gets amplified and comes out the other side. Whatever, you know what I mean? Whatever child is out there, whatever activity is out there, you bring them to a party, and the level of the party is at 60 decibels. Boom! They shoot it up immediately to 85 decibels. You know what I mean? They whatever comes in gets amplified, and it's shot back out again. And again, that has its uses. It has its applications. If you can bring that to sports, you're awesome.
Yes.
You're going to be awesome.
Yeah.
You're going to be in the
My
starting.
son's always the top in any sport, because he's just so. Just sees everything that's going on, absorbs. It's just 100%. Just go.
Yeah. You bring an intensity to the game that most people could never.
Right.
They can't dream. They can't even conceive of that.
Yeah.
So that's why they don't play football. They don't play sports.
Right.
There's a reason for that. So there's a time and a place for everything. But if you can't dial it down, if you've never been taught to step out of that sympathetic response and move into a different way of being, it's going to be a problem because of the situations these kids find themselves in. They don't have a choice to not go to school. They can't just say, well, you know, I'm just going to go and I'm going to play video games and I'm going to go to a school that engages in the Socratic method and we can walk around and talk like this, you know, and we don't have to sit in our seats and we can interrupt when we want and we have this dynamic flow and blah. I mean, that would be a fun school. I'd love to see that school myself, you know. So anyway, so what we're going to talk about is increasing this communication so that this 30 images per second, this visual kinesthetic mind body connection, boom 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 boom, instant boom boom boom, gets moderated. It like has to go through these layers of filtering where okay, you get consideration. So it's like with the shoes, instead of see it, buy it, you see it, think about it, consider it, and well, maybe not. So, you guys made it. All right, very cool. Good night's sleep?
Yeah.
So, any questions about yesterday before we move on? Really getting into these guys' heads. Because I can show you all the techniques, but unless you sit with them, unless you see where they're at and can appreciate where they're at in that moment, this is all going to be not useless, but it's not going to have the effectiveness. If you just start pulling techniques out of a book or even out of my book, it doesn't matter. If they're not in the space to hear it, to participate in it, to connect with that particular technique, it's going to be a waste of time. So even though it's only that first couple of hours of the course, and I'll go back to it, you know, in different times. It's really critical. It's really the key to seeing where they're at, kind of connecting with them. A lot of times when parents bring their kid in for the first time, you know, they probably look at me like I'm a little weird, and I prep them for this when I'm on the phone, and we'll talk about this a lot more in Monday and Tuesday in the learning specialist training, but I tell them, I said, now listen, when you guys walk in, my focus is going to be on the child. I'm going to be looking at him and connecting with him. So just so you don't feel slighted or neglected. I don't go into a lot of detail, but depending upon how the child comes in, I may sit there like this. If he sits there like this, like who the hell are you and what do you want, then I'll go back and I'll say, well, so, you know, what do you like to do? And if he's like all bouncing off the walls, some of the kids comes in, I will change my breathing and I'll be like, okay, what do you do? What do you do for fun? What do you like to do? Yeah. Okay. Cool. But then I'll gradually, over a period of about 45 minutes, I'll like, oh, okay. So, what are you struggling with in school? And what would you like to make better? What would you like to change? So I put all the focus on, make it about him. And so it really, even in the first visit, over a period of about 40 minutes, I will start wherever they're at. I meet them on their terms, their breathing, their posture, and then I'll just slowly, you know, dial it down, bring it down to the point where, you know, I can get kids that have dyslexia, ADD, and this, that, and the other thing, all these complaints, and I'll get them to where they're sitting, they're relaxed, they're focused, they're staring at the wall, or I'm kind of taking them with my hand to a certain place, you know, with some visual anchoring or something, and of course my favorite is the spelling thing. That's my favorite first thing to do. Especially if they have trouble, if they say they have trouble spelling. Oh, my kid can't spell. No. Oh, really? Okay. And so I'll play with them and, you know, talk about their imagination and whatnot. And then we'll do, you know, I'll lead up to that little spelling exercise, and you know, and that's when the the mom's jaw will go like, okay, my kid just spelled success forwards and backwards. What? And then you almost see the thoughts going through their head. Okay, why can't they do this at school? What's going on? What are they missing? What am I missing? What just happened here? That's very cool. Okay, so any other questions about yesterday?
I was wondering about being in the sympathetic nervous system, in more of the fight or flight.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying that, is that something that they get into from time to time, where they're kind of always like that? Or is it like stress or like difficult family situation that gets them into that?
It can be exacerbated by anything, okay? Like I said, I heard a doctor say that ADD kids or ADHD kids are sympathetic dominant, and that probably a lot of the PDD kids in that PDD group, pervasive developmental disorder, because if you look at most of the symptoms in the DSM-4 or DSM-5, that's the diagnostic criteria manual for the American Psychiatric Association. Okay, and if you look at the symptoms, they vary from diagnosis to diagnosis. ADD, ADHD. Well, they did away with ADD now. OCD, ODD, PDD-NOS, nonverbal learning disorder, Tourette's, Asperger's, autism. Okay, there's a lot of overlap. And in almost every one of those, you can see that the symptoms are exacerbated by almost any physical or emotional stress. And remember the old saying in AA, I don't know if anybody's been in AA, but don't get too hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. Any of those things can make the symptoms less. And almost any parent of an ADHD kid will see that. If they get hungry, look out. When I guys start getting like suicidal, I'm just kidding, not suicidal, but when I'm like, oh, this sucks. Well, how am I ever going to get this done? This was earlier Friday. Yes. It's like, oh, I got a million things to do. I can't find this and blah blah. They don't have the tables. I was looking for 8-foot tables, and I was like, and my wife goes, it was like 11 o'clock, and she's like, so what have you eaten today? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, nothing. What? Nothing. Okay, so go eat something, have lunch or late breakfast or whatever, and call me back. Yeah. Then let's talk. She knows.
Well, do you forget to eat? Because my son will forget
I totally
to
forget
eat.
to
Yeah.
eat. I'll go if I'm working outside or something like that. It'll be 3 o'clock.
Right.
And then I walk in the house.
And then it's gone to the extreme to where you're so over hungry.
Oh man, what a brutal day! And oh yeah, have you eaten anything today? Oh no, I haven't.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't occur to me.
Yeah.
I leap out of bed, whatever time that may be. It might vary. But when I do open my eyes, I leap out of bed. I get dressed. And I just go do something. I'm up. I'm not like laying around and just, I just when I'm up, and I like to go do something, and I don't like to eat like right away first thing in the morning. It doesn't appeal to me. So if I'm lucky, and my wife reminds me, I'll come back down at about 10 o'clock. And have something to eat. Now I'm good for another 2 hours. But if I don't come back, if I get totally lost out in the fields or doing some project,
right.
It could get to be noon or even 2 o'clock, and then I'm like, oh, maybe I have a headache or maybe. Right. So it's really important. Really important.
I have trouble getting my son just to eat. He doesn't want to.
Because he doesn't want to sit still long enough to eat. Because that was my problem.
Well, let me ask you this though: is he on meds?
Yes, he is.
Oh,
that's.
He's on Focalin.
Yeah, I don't know. I forget exactly what Focalin does, but almost any of the stimulants, they're going to cut your appetite down.
See, at first after he took it, he was eating better. He never really would eat good.
Right.
but he was eating a lot better, a lot healthier, better. Just he wanted it. He's just such a picky eater.
Yeah.
So I tried to offer. I always offer things that he wants, but it seems like you don't want to eat at the times that we eat.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? He wants to eat at a different time.
Right.
Well, by the time he wants to eat, we're doing our routine for bedtime. He's got to
Yes.
bed at 8:30.
Yes.
Right.
Or he's exhausted in the morning.
Right.
That happens
So
to
I don't
me.
know if
if
it's
I
just-
get off track, that's exactly what happens to me.
But I don't know. I mean, my big thing is you need to eat while it's offered. You know what I mean? But he has a bedtime snack. I mean, it's just to keep that. Or should
Well,
I?
here's one of the things I do. Okay, even if I'm not hungry, often with the help of my wife, I will have a little snack. So don't try to force a big meal on them. Just have a little snack, a little. And I'm not like into junk like those nonsense high sugar
It's
power
China's
bars,
dads,
but
I don't-
but just like a low carb
Probably
protein
give him
bar
oatmeal,
or something.
Like
Yeah,
for
oatmeal's
bed.
good.
'Cause it's like
That's
he didn't
really
eat a good dinner,
filling
so I'll give
and-
him oatmeal. 'Cause
Well,
I
but
thought-
what I'm saying is you want to have something. It can be a small portion, but you want to get him to eat something.
I just wanted his belly to be full. I
Right.
want to send him bed hungry.
Right.
Yeah.
That's kind of what. So I've been doing that. But
Yeah, that's a tough one. Because and it's I'm not banging meds. I'm not
Oh, no.
I'm not getting into that whole thing. It's just there's certain consequences. And one of the consequences with neurostimulants is it kills your appetite.
And
It's
he's
just a
little
fact.
Anyway. I mean, he's underweight
Yeah.
anyway.
I have to
He's a little
say,
guy.
before I ever did meds with my son,
Mine never did eat.
especially when he was little, he could not sit still to eat. That was like a huge ordeal. That's
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
take way too much time.
It's
and
going to
just
take
sitting
way too much
still,
time.
and
Yeah.
He was a grazer. He just do drive-bys, grab and go, and I just
Yeah.
finally gave up and let him do that. The whole sitting at the table for a meal was not going to happen.
See, I make that happen.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
our family time.
Right.
We're so busy. That's
Right.
what we do. But I feel like I don't know if he's just really hungry or is he just trying to get out of going to bedtime.
Yeah, and that's too, because they will use that as an excuse, and so then you gotta go, well, are you stalling, or are you actually hungry? It's,
Well, it's dramatic. I'm
yes,
so
it's the end of the
hungry.
world.
Yeah.
Yes. It's-
Well, something I'm wondering. I'm not even gonna record this, but just for you guys in the room. And I'm guessing it'll start in California. I'm wondering if anybody's gonna start using cannabis for ADD, because it's pretty popular with older high school, or
Right.
not high school, but high school, college kids, people who self-medicate. I've seen it already, and it tends to balance them out. So
it gives them an appetite.
and it gives them an appetite. So I don't know. It's something that's occurred to me, and I know it's in most of the country it's totally illegal, but in California, I'm waiting to see if that
It comes
because
around.
they do prescribe it for anxiety and other
Right.
things.
They can go the other way with anxiety too. It depends on your chemistry and your personality.
Right.
Some people become totally paranoid and freak out and become more anxious, and so you never know.
Yeah,
Just
well,
like with any
but that's
med,
like with all the
anything.
meds.
Exactly.
It really depends
You
on
know
your.
how-
I mean, our physiologies are so complex.
Right.
So, but anyway, it's just I even threw it on Facebook once to just has
Yeah.
any parents has anybody had any experience with it?
Right.
Didn't get any replies.
Right.
Probably because the FDA is part of it, well, the DEA or
Yeah,
whoever.
you probably have to have a college
watching.
kid who's like ADHD. That's maybe someone might, but.
And even if it was in combination or some minimal dose. I don't know if you get homeopathic cannabis or something like that.
I think I'd be amazed if they couldn't put it in a pill form. And you know what? Some of the psychomeds do have the THC in them.
They do.
So
Yeah. Anyway,
they're
it was
on
just a
there.
thought. That's just a thought.
Interesting.
I haven't heard about anybody who's actually tried it medically, but it would be interesting to see. So yes, getting guys to sit down and eat. The best results that I've seen or been able to get is usually by establishing a routine and letting them know ahead of time what's going to happen, reinforcing that, dealing with any negative emotion that comes up with reassurance or whatever, creating the situation in a way that they can accept it, making it a small, look, you can do a drive-by, you can just do a snack, but we're going to have a little bit of snack. We're going to do this at this time, in this order. And when that becomes a habit, then you gain a little bit of freedom. You gain a little bit of freedom. If you can get a kid doing their homework from 3:30 to 4 o'clock by doing, 5, 10, 5, 10, 5, boom, 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 5 steps or 6 steps, and you just get them doing that, then you can start expanding it. Because now they know they can go through this and be successful. They go, it's like a drive-by. They do 5 minutes in spelling, 5 minutes in reading, 10 minutes in math, 5 minutes in this, and boom, boom, done. Whoa, I can do that. Cool. And then it becomes, 5 minutes and 10 minutes. And then 5 minutes and 15 minutes, and 10 minutes and 20 minutes. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I really use rhythm and routine a lot with these guys. I've seen it do pretty amazing things, even with autistic kids, Asperger's.
They all tend to lock on to routines, don't they? More so than
yes.
others. I mean, they just...
Yes.
Because I know with my kid, if I do something once, well, that's it. That's law now. This is how we do it. It's like...
That's how we do it. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's
yes.
So breaking from it then.
It's, we're wired up. We're creatures of habit. We're already creatures of habit. So if that impulse is even stronger with a child, why fight it? Use that to your and his advantage so that they can be successful. And we create little routines, bedtime routine, getting ready for school routine. If he's already doing this, and this to get ready for school, okay, every day you sneak in, you just add to that routine, feed the hamster. Or here's 2 minutes of exercises before we hit the door, before we leave for school. And it's the same routine, boom, 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 boom. Bedtime routine, same thing. Jammies, drink, story, lights out. Jammy, drink, stories, lights out. Or pee, jammy, pee, drink, story, lights out. Right? That's it. Boom, 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 boom. Now, you can vary this in time. You can make it 8:30 instead of 8 o'clock, or 9 o'clock instead of 8:30. You can do a 15-minute story instead of a 10-minute story. What you don't want to do is change the order. Because that, now you've just messed everything
the whole
up.
World
You just thrown the whole world into chaos.
Yeah.
But very, very quickly, the brain will latch on to this. And it literally creates like until they get to the end, that lights out part, the end of the sequence, the world is not complete. So, again, use that natural impulse to help them be successful. Okay. So we ready? All right. This is where we get into the guts. This is, not every child's going to need all these skills. This is kind of the big book. As I mentioned before, usually it's like this list of 15 or 16 skills over here that most kids will need. So this is going to be a little bit more complete, but it's pretty cool. So, here's the disclaimers. All exercises should be done with adult supervision. Never make any changes without your physician. Do not attempt the program if you're pregnant, or la la la. Everybody read that and just, so if anything happens, it's not my fault.
What page are you on?
34.
I thought it was interesting about the CDs and the seizures down here.
Oh yeah,
Down there.
yeah. It's like, and this is a pretty rare, but like, the same as some individuals can, if they're subject to or sensitive to seizures, they can get seizures from fluorescent lights, from TV screens, or
I've heard cop
Flickering.
lines.
what's that?
The flickering. The
Anything
change.
flickering,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Anything flickering.
Well, this was the
And-
sound. That's why I was just.
Yeah, it must do
Well,
the
but
same
it does
kind
the
of
same
trigger
thing.
if it's
triggering the
beat,
brain
basically.
to respond to a certain frequency. And if that happens to be a frequency that they're very sensitive to,
Right.
I mean,
I just thought it was
again,
interesting.
it's yeah. But it does speak to the power of the brain entrainment. All right. So here are the 24 skills we're going to go through over the next 2 days. Again, the first 3: stress reduction, focus and attention, and organization. And fortunately, a lot of the exercises that we work with, they're like there's layers to each exercise. So you can get a certain benefit at a certain level, and if you take it to the next level, you get a more benefit. You may get benefits in several areas from some exercises. Does that make sense? Okay. Oh, and then of course we've got the kind of the educational skills: reading, writing, handwriting, spelling, vocabulary, math. Some other interesting skills that are often brought to kids too early, too soon, like telling time, counting money. These are actually fairly complex skills, and I put them in here because they're being pushed on kids way too early. So we'll look at that, and they're also good examples of how to deal with certain other problems that you might see. Not as common, but it's where the child is obviously getting too much information, too complex, too fast. And then of course the life skills, critical thinking, deductive reasoning, goal setting, project management, time management, confidence and motivation. Okay. Stress reduction. So I thought that we would have a little fun with this. And let's look at our first exercise. Yeah, so we're gonna walk through each of these one by one. Why is stress reduction so important? Well, I think almost anyone, whatever side of the fence you're on, as far as is it mental, is it emotional, is it physiological, whatever your view of ADD or ADHD or any of these is, I think you would agree that stress is a real component of that response. So if we can reduce the stress response, and to the extent that we can instill or install those new ways of relaxing, or the experience of relaxing, the experience of being okay without intense chaos, I think we're giving these guys a real leg up. Okay, so the first one of the easiest ones, is called cross crawls or cross walks. Now there's one that is related to that, but it's even easier for very, very young kids, and I think we're going to start there. So this isn't in your book, but
I'm going to need a visual. Reading this, I don't understand exactly what it's saying, so.
Which one are you reading?
The cross crawl, cross walk.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We're going to do it. That's just a reminder.
Right.
So everybody put your books down and stand up. And this exercise is actually for even younger kids that are just starting to work across the midline, to work with the two halves of the brain, and to get them moving in a different way.
What do you mean by younger? Like toddler younger?
Like all the way down to maybe 3 or 4 years old.